Good morning. This is Carla Harris with Conversations with Carla. Thank you for joining me today. Good morning. This is Carla Harris again, welcoming you to this edition of Conversations with Carla. Today, my guest is Connie Phelan, CEO of Firepower Seminars. So, have you ever thought about walking on fire? What? Who even thinks about that? But it's not about walking on fire. It's about overcoming your fears. It's about managing your breakthroughs and just moving forward. So I want to tell you a little secret. I worked with Connie and I actually walked on glass. And I thought, surely I'll get cuts, I'll get everything, but nope, I did it. I looked it in the face and said, I can do this. So let's talk about your fears today. And let me give you just a little taste of what it means to walk on fire.
Ooh! Look at her!
Right here! Way to go, Craig. Way to go. Yeah, Ray. Right here, Ray. Right here. Right. Yes. Now it's like a look at the target. Just in.
Wow. Let's get right to it. Let's talk to Connie Phelan. Hey, Connie.
Hey, Carla. You got me all fired up with that video.
I know. That is super duper exciting.
It is.
You know, I thought walking on glass was something. I will tell you, sign me up though. I'm ready, I think.
I think
I'm ready to walk.
You're ready. You're ready.
Look, I have to ask myself though, what's that going to do to my hot flashes? But you never know.
Yeah, I don't think it hasn't been proven to be a medicinal effect for hot flashes.
Okay, good.
We'll help you with your self-esteem though.
Oh, yes. I am lacking in that just a little bit. So how's it going?
Very well. We actually were supposed to have a fire walk last weekend and we had to cancel it, of course, because of the coronavirus. So it was great to see the video.
Yeah, that must be exciting. I can't imagine the exhilaration that your attendees must feel when they just go through something like that. I mean, it's just there can't be a word that describes it.
I think I'm as exhilarated as they are with each walk. Like I remembered each of those people that you just showed in that video. It's amazing. Because for most of the fire walk, people are sitting there with doubt and fear and all of this. Some people go into, maybe a little bit of anxiety. And by the time they walk and we go back into the room and we do a little debrief, like they're laughing at themselves by how worked up they got over, overcoming their fear and how hard it was going to be. And half of them thought they weren't even going to walk when by the time they go out there and they face the fire, they face their fears and they do it. So it's just a beautiful thing to witness.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into it. So what is fear? If you had to define it, what is fear?
Simply, fear is an emotion. So science tells us that we have two innate fears: fear of falling and fear of loud noises. So that means all of our other fears are learned fears. So we have all these triggers that bring up fears for us. And it happens at a very young age and we have no control over it. And then we spend the rest of our life having to overcome these fears. Maybe at a young age, they kept us safe. But what happens as we get older is we want to branch out. We want to do new things. And one of the ones that I always think about is when you were a child and you heard about stranger danger. Don't talk to strangers. They're bad. Don't talk to strangers. And as we grow older, the people who are can be the most successful are the people that can talk to strangers, make them feel comfortable and confident in themselves. So those are the kind of the conditioning, the programming that we receive as young children, oftentimes to keep us safe. And really basically because as children, we're looking for answers for how to react to things on the outside, because we don't, we don't have any reference for the things that we're experiencing. And so each generation of people, we're getting programmed with fears and conditioned with fears and beliefs and all of these things. And on one hand, they keep us safe. There are fears that are designed to keep us safe. Like you don't jump out of an airplane without a parachute.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Most people would know that.
Right.
And then there's other fears that we have, like fear that we're not going to be good at something, fear that we're not going to be enough, fear that we're going to fail. These inexplicable fears that come up, and for people that have them, notice we have them time and time again, and it's like, why do and basically we're having these fears because we're having, we're thinking the same thoughts. Thoughts are driving our emotions, which is if your thought is stimulating fear, then it makes sense that we need to learn to manage our thoughts.
Okay. So it's kind of like, we want to, as parents, for example, we want to teach our children a healthy sense of fear, but we don't want it to be debilitating.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. All right. So can you get rid of it?
No, I don't think you can eradicate an emotion. What you can do is create a healthy relationship with fear. And that's really what I've had to do. People look at me and they think, oh, she must be fearless. She and Karen, my business partner, they walk on fire and all this. They must be fearless. I could never do those things. And to be honest with you, nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah.
My mom says when I was a baby, if people just looked at me, I would cry. So I've had to overcome a lot of fear, and I'm constantly doing it. I mean, to be honest with you, this is my first time I'm ever doing this live thing on social media. And I had fear coming into this. But the relationship that I've created is that I can feel myself going into fear really quickly. And so the first thing I'll ask is, am I in danger? And, I'm sitting here in my house. Of course, I'm not in danger. I've known you for years. I'm not in danger. Hopefully you're going to be gentle with this interview. Right. And so I have to remind myself that I am to be present and know that I'm perfectly okay.
Right. And that's why we're just having a conversation. It's like we're sitting in our living room, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to welcome, we do have some folks talking with us this morning. So Glenn, before we get into some other things with us, Glenn Benjamin. Hey, Glenn, how you doing? He is with us every week. I just love it. He says, how about the fear of where we are today? So this whole COVID-19.
Great question.
Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, Glenn, thanks for the question. When you're at a fire walk, the fire is real. Once we light that fire, things get a lot more serious. The room gets a lot heavier sometimes. What we're experiencing today with coronavirus, the virus is real. I mean, most people at this point believe that it's real. We're taking, measures, staying at home to stay safe. So the fear is, again, projecting out to, are we going to be safe? Thinking about the future. Are we going to be safe? Am I going to have get my needs met, which is the food, the shelter, all of that? That's really the fear around the virus. Can I stay healthy? So with the virus, also akin to firewalking, it's what kind of measures do we have to take to be safe? For me, it's interesting. I really haven't gone into fear with this virus. I've had other emotions around it, but fear hasn't been one of them. And at the same time, I am doing everything that the scientists and experts or health experts are saying to do. So I think the main thing is for Glenn is to make your decision on how you're going to move through this time of the virus. And sometimes the action that we take, the best action is no action at all, which is hard. We're action oriented, so to be home and not making money, people that can't go to work, it's a really difficult place to be.
And we're such human. Not human. We're such social beings. We were created to be interactive and engaging. And that's why, for us here at the People Institute, it's really about that human engagement. which is why I love video, because like you, I was like, oh no, you'll never get me on a video. And I have my own, we all have our own inadequacies and things like that, or self-perceived. And I think a lot of that comes from, the fears that we have. How do we look on camera? What if no one shows up to my party? It's funny because, as social as I am, I remember when I had my first party, I think I was about 14 or 15, and it was a birthday party, and literally like 2 people showed up. That scarred me for life because, I've known you a long time. I'm a very social person. And I thought, oh my gosh. But even now at the wonderful age of something, I am, I still think about, when I do something, is that going to, am I going to have that same result? So it's really interesting that even as adults who are, pretty solid in who we are as people, we still have those, some of those things sort of creep back into our mind.
And that's where I'm talking about how, this is our conditioning. So that's an experience that you had, which was painful at the time. You probably grew from it. And now you're right, it creeps back in. So that's where managing our thoughts comes in. Because worrying about whether somebody's going to show up to your party isn't actually going to make people appear at your party.
Right.
Worrying about if you're going to get coronavirus isn't going to keep you from getting it. What you can do is to put yourself in a more resourceful state is, what can I do to protect myself? What can I do to protect my family? And kind of move through in making the right decisions, the next right decision as we move through it. Because believe me, no one has seen this before. That's
Right, exactly.
We're just all figuring it out together.
So to all of you watching, if you have questions for Connie, if you have questions for me, you want to join the conversation, please, you can chat with us on Facebook Live and on YouTube. So definitely send us your questions and we will answer them right here. So Connie, I want to show you a video that I have, and it's a really quick video. So guys, make sure you look or you're going to miss it. And then I want to talk about his reaction. I love that reaction. I mean, you could just feel, even just from watching it, his whole openness about what he just did. So tell us a little bit about that experience.
That is tattooed on my heart, that experience. That was an amazing night. These were young folks that were going through a program, and they brought them for a fire walk. And with the fire walk, we do several activities, all fear breaking, barrier breaking activities leading up to the fire walk. And this young man had so many breakthroughs. So many times he cried throughout the evening. And so it was like breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. So when he finally got out to that fire, he was so filled with fear, and he did it. And that's the relief, the sense of accomplishment, the excitement, all of it. Like, there's too many adjectives to put into what that young man just did. Walking onto the fire and walking through his fear. And it's always an amazing thing to see.
Wow, that's incredible. So Marty has a question, and her question is, how can companies build their teamwork and trust during this time while everyone is working remotely?
That's, companies are getting, we're kind of learning this together at this stage. Zoom and these programs, these platforms for bringing in groups and putting people into breakout rooms has become a real great resource to bringing people together. And I think it's important to do because this is going to be around a while, it looks like. So in the beginning, we thought, a few months and we'll just bring everybody back to the office. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I am figuring that out myself. So there's probably, a lot of great resources online. And if Marty, if you want to reach out to me, I can probably connect you with Karen, and we can can work up some stuff for you. So it's for us it's a little challenging because the things that Firepower Seminars does, it's all experiential. Breaking boards, bending rebar, breaking arrows, breaking concrete blocks, fire walking, glass walking. It's like we're there facilitating the experience. So this is a real learning curve for us, and we're having to, like most of America, most of the world, having to figure out a new way to exist, a new way to do our work, a new way to be in the world. And for me, it's having to overcome a lot of fear. As an introvert, this is not a natural thing for me to be on camera.
Yeah.
It was hard enough, as an introvert to pick up the phone. If you got a phone call from me, it's like I went through a lot of stuff to make the phone call. It's nothing personal. It's just what introverts do.
Right. That's right. It's right. So another question, how, I guess, and that leads me to, what impact does fear and boundaries, what does that have on on I guess the ripple effect on our lives?
When we move through our life experiencing a lot of fear, it paralyzes us. And I'm speaking as someone who has overcome this. It keeps us stuck, keeps us from experiencing a lot of the great things in life, keeps us from moving forward, and basically just keeps us at the status quo. And when we can get to the point where we decide that we don't want to live in fear, and kind of, I would call it embracing fear, creating a relationship with fear, things shift. And it's like, it's not just a specific fear that you'll overcome. Like with each specific fear that you overcome, what I've experienced in my life is that now I'm experiencing fear less often. So there's not a lot of things that will stimulate fear in me. Most of what it is now, I'm noticing, is things that I have never done before, which is true of a lot of people. It's natural to have fear if you've never done something before. What's really unnatural and restrictive is to let it keep you from experiencing new things.
Okay. Let's go. Let's take another question. So Angelique asked her question, what's a healthy relationship with fear look like? That's a great question.
Yes, great question. To me, a healthy relationship with fear is that a person can feel when they're experiencing the emotion of fear really quickly and without judgment, because it's an emotion that comes and goes with our thoughts, and we can't control our thoughts. We can just manage them. So if I'm going through the grocery store and and I notice that all the shelves are empty, this happened, very early on with coronavirus, and pretty much everything that I wanted was gone, it would be easy to go into the fear of, oh my gosh, we're not going to have food, we're going to starve. And so it's important to realize that that kind of thinking was going to lead me down a rabbit hole of fear and maybe anxiety. So I had to remind myself, there's plenty of food in this store, so we're not going to have pasta this week, and find other foods. And of course, the shelves were stocked the next week. So a lot of the fears that we have are there are conditioning. And what I've noticed for myself is that I just noticed that I'm going into fear really quickly. And then I ask myself, because it's programming, it's conditioning, is this mine? Am I in danger? So usually it's no and no. So it's like, okay, what am I going to do about this? And then I make my decision. Am I going to take action? And because I want to embrace fear, is my first instinct is to always say no. And then I laugh at myself and I'm like, Connie, you got to do this. That's what brings me here today with you, is that, immediately I would say, no, I'm not going on video. Hell no. And here I am. Right. Let's be honest. Hell no.
That's right. I understand. I do. So Marty asked, what's the youngest age group you've worked with?
We have worked with some prep schools. So that's high school age.
Okay.
And that is not firewalking, but we've done board breaking and arrow breaking and rebar bending. We have not done a firewalk. Well, let me take that back. We have worked with athletic groups. We've done, again, teenagers. With athletes, we've done firewalks for. It's not something that we don't promote firewalking to children, because it takes a very responsible parent to know the maturity level of their child.
Sure.
Because it is dangerous. And it is a walk of faith and a walk of conviction. And when you get children together, you want to make sure there's not the peer pressure. So we're very tuned into that.
So you've mentioned board breaking a couple times. Can you just tell us a little bit about what board breaking is?
Sure. And that's actually the most popular program that we do is board breaking. And it's just an amazing, again, it's something that most people think they can't do until they actually do it. And it's breaking through a board with your bare hand. And this is a really big team building event that's big with corporations. Mm-hmm. And last year, our largest group was 800 people. Wow. 810 people out in Keystone, Colorado. So that was pretty exciting. So again, it's very motivational, very inspirational, and people get to create their own breakthrough by what they write on the board. And we customize it for what the objective of the company is, the group. So it might be we want them to be in touch with their fears, or we want them to be in touch with, establish some goals for the next quarter or the next 6 months or a year, and then identify what are the blocks to reaching those goals. Gotcha.
Okay. So Glenn has a fairly long question here. He says, so we're around the corner from hurricane season. So yep. we're here in South Florida. And many people procrastinate and not take the proper actions to be prepared for the storms. He says, could their procrastination be fear related?
I am a recovering procrastinator. So I know that my procrastination was tied into the fear of not doing it right, not making it perfect, because I also was a perfectionist. So you see how these things are oftentimes they're linked. So the procrastination came from my perfectionism, which perfectionism leads to procrastination, which leads to oftentimes feeling, beating myself up because I'm not getting things done, and people perceive that as lazy. But it's not. It's a real thing. So procrastination is, again, it's like almost like the decision to embrace fear. It's like getting rid of taking action to get rid of the emotion. So I know what I felt like when I was procrastinating, or when I do procrastinate. It's an awful feeling. So you have to have a decision to make. Do I want to live with this feeling, or do I want to take action, do what I need to do to move on to feeling better about myself and about things?
Yeah. It's interesting because in our trainings, our corporate training, part of our time management training is about procrastination. And even, I'm not as much of a procrastinator as I used to be, but I will tell you that, teaching people how to create solutions for themselves and putting those solutions into practice. Habits take a long time to break and to form. So you have positive habits and negative habits. And I think that when we're talking about this, as it relates to, Glenn's comment, is that fear related? I think it goes back to your comment too about the fear of the unknown. We don't know, we get the predictions and, the news media, which is terrible for inciting fear. But, we have to just sort of learn to manage that emotion like you're talking about. So my last question to you is, what do we do about the social media aspect of life as we know it? Everything is out. And then I always ask my guests to give me 3 things. So if you can sort of combine those. So how do we manage the social media negativity that's 24/7? And then what are 3 steps or 3 points you can leave us with as we finish this segment, which I'm so excited about?
Okay, so social media, do you mean like in terms of being bombarded with all the messages that we're getting?
Absolutely.
Well, there again, it's about managing your thoughts, managing your state. If you're a person who cannot watch the news, if it upsets you to watch the news, find a trusted source to give you what you need in lasered. If it's the 6:30 nightly news where you're getting 30 minutes of world, nationwide news, if that's all you can handle, that's great. It's really, everybody is so different in how they can process what's happening out there. So definitely, if too much information is leading you to fear, you need to control what you're bringing into your world. What was your next question?
What are the 3 nuggets you would leave us with?
The first one is fear is an acronym. We know it as false evidence appearing real. A lot of the things that we fear never come to fruition. So it's important to remember that. And in this time of coronavirus, there's another acronym that I like to remember. It's forgetting everything's all right. And oftentimes we do. We have to remind ourselves that in this moment, I'm safe, my family's safe, we're okay. Sure, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but right now we're okay, and keep coming back to living in the present, really, being present.
Excellent.
Another one is that to remember that we are not our conditioning. We are not our programming. That has served us for a certain point of time in our life. And if it's no longer serving us, we have the power and the free will to change that. And I'm living proof of that. You know, if you would have told me 20 years ago I'd be teaching firewalking or even have done a firewalk, I would say that is crazy. You know, people think that people who do that aren't in their right mind. Here's nugget number 3. It is actually your right mind that gets you to do things like firewalking, to get you to go out and speak in public, even though you're terrified. That is your right mind. That is your true self. The mind that we unfortunately live with most, a lot of people most often, is the mind filled with limitations, filled with the fears that we have, the things that never come true, but we're living as if they will be. And that's really the not right mind. The right mind gets us to do amazing things. So again,
excellent.
Using our thoughts to change our programming. And nugget number 4, I'm going to throw in a bonus for you, Carla, because I've known you for years.
Okay.
I'll give you a 4th nugget really quickly, is that in this time of coronavirus, it's the I will encourage people to have the courage to ask for help. Because in this time, there's people looking to give help, and there's plenty of people who really would benefit from being vulnerable and asking for help. And that is one of the most courageous acts I can think of.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
So if you want more information, you can see the information on the screen to reach out to Connie. It's Connie at Firepower Seminars, and that's seminars with an S.com. And her phone number, direct line, is 954-232-4426. Thank you so much, Connie. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this. You know, I think that so much of who we are and what we do is mental.
Absolutely.
And we really have to learn that when we control our thoughts, we control our outcomes. Absolutely. And this has been an incredible conversation. So I thank you so much. Kiss, 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 kiss to you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for growth.
Absolutely. So I want to just thank Connie again for joining us. Firepower Seminars is the name of her company, Overcoming Fear. And then join us next week, Monday mornings, 10 a.m. for Conversations with Carla. I thank you so much for being here. This was an incredible conversation, and thank you all for joining us. See you next week.